In the quiet, sun-drenched town of Oakhaven, a girl named Elara was born, marked by a curious absence. She cast no shadow. For years, this was just a harmless quirk, a reason for whispers and sideways glances from the other children. They called her the sun-touched girl, a name that felt both like a blessing and a curse. Elara didn't mind. She loved the warmth of the sun on her skin, feeling as though it claimed every part of her, leaving nothing behind. Her life was simple, bright, and shadowless, but everything changed on her 16th birthday, the day the sun went down and the whispers began. It wasn't a human voice. It was a dry, rustling sound like autumn leaves, skittering across pavement, forming words in the corners of her mind. At first she thought it was the wind or her own imagination running wild in the twilight, but as dusk deepened, the voices grew clearer, more insistent. They emanated from the stretching, deepening shadows of the world around her, the shadow of the old oak tree in her yard, the one cast by the church steeple, the slivers of darkness. In the alleyways, they spoke to her and her alone. The shadows were ancient and they knew things. They whispered secrets into the quiet of Elara's room. They told her of the baker's hidden lottery winnings tucked away beneath a loose floorboard. They revealed the postman's secret love for the town librarian, a love he only confessed to in letters he never sent. They spoke of feuds and friendships, of hidden joys and quiet sorrows. It was intoxicating. Elara, who had always felt like an outsider, was suddenly an insider to everyone's life. She knew the secret heart of her town. This newfound knowledge gave her a strange power. She could offer a kind word to the heartbroken, a knowing smile to the secretly fortunate. She felt connected, important, but the shadows were not benevolent storytellers. Soon their whispers turned from secrets to demands. A small favor, they'd hiss, their voices coiling around her. The old coin from the wishing well, bring it to the shadow of the bridge at midnight, or snuff out the candle in the widow's window. Let her sit in the dark for a while. The favors were small at first, mischievous and petty. Elara, caught between fear and a desire to keep her connection to this secret world, complied. She'd toss a forgotten trinket into a dark corner or rearrange an item on a shopkeeper's shelf. Each time she did, the shadows would reward her with juicier secrets, weaving her deeper into their web. She became their agent in the world of light, a ghost moving through her own town, performing strange, seemingly random acts at the behest of the darkness. But the favors began to escalate. They became meaner, more malicious. Loosen the wheel on the farmer's cart, one shadow rasped, make him spill his harvest. Another demanded, tear a page from the librarian's favorite book. These were not harmless pranks anymore. They were acts of cruelty. Elara's conscience, which had been lulled by the thrill of secret knowledge, screamed in protest. She started to resist. No, she'd whisper back to the encroaching darkness in her room. I won't do that. The shadows did not like being refused. Their whispers turned to threats. They hissed of her own secrets, of her deepest fears. They promised to expose the small, selfish thoughts she'd never spoken aloud. We know you, they'd chorus, their voices a symphony of malice. We know what you truly are. The air in her room grew cold. The familiar shapes of her furniture cast long, menacing shadows that seemed to crawl and writhe, no longer content to stay in there. Corners, they were closing in. One evening, Elara made her stand. The shadows demanded she ruin the baker's new batch of dough, a petty act of spite against a kind man. She stood in her room, the last rays of sunlight fading from the window, and shouted into the growing gloom, "No, I'm done. I won't be your puppet anymore." A profound silence fell. The rustling, hissing voices vanished completely. For a moment, Elara felt a wave of relief. It was over. She was free. She turned towards the dim light of her bedside lamp, her heart still pounding in her chest, and then she saw it. On the wall behind her, cast in the lamp's soft glow, was a shadow. Her shadow. She had never had one before. Her breath caught in her throat. She slowly, cautiously raised her hand. The shadow on the wall mimicked the movement. A hysterical laugh bubbled up inside her. It was real. After all these years, she was whole. She was normal. But as she watched, mesmerized, the shadow's hand kept moving after hers had stopped. It curled its shadowy fingers into a fist. A cold dread, far worse than anything she had felt before, washed over her. She stood frozen, staring at the silhouette on the wall. It began to shift, to contort, its shape elongated, the head tilting at an unnatural angle. It was her outline, yes, but it moved with a malevolent life of its own. It was not her reflection in darkness. It was something else, something that had been given form. The shadow detached itself from the wall. It peeled away like old paint, pooling on the floor before rising, a two-dimensional figure of pure blackness standing independently in her room. It had no features, but she could feel its gaze, a void that promised nothing but emptiness. A dry, rustling whisper filled the room, but this time it wasn't coming from the corners. It was coming from the thing in front of her. You wouldn't do our bidding, it hissed, its voice the culmination of all the whispers she had ever heard. So now we will. The shadow figure took a step towards her, and Elara finally understood. She had not been born without a shadow. Her shadow had simply been waiting for her to refuse the darkness, so it could be born instead. And it was hungry for the world of light. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilling journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another tale from the shadows. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe and be careful what you listen to in the dark.